Welcome to Epic Begins with One Step Forward. I'm your host, Zander Sprague, and I'm so excited that you're joining me today. I have a really great episode for you. But first, our thought of the day. What is good about your current situation? No matter where you are right now, maybe it's good, maybe it's not as good for you, but what is good? There is good in every single situation, no matter how dire it might seem, how bad you are interpreting it. There is good there, and I want to encourage you to embrace the good that's there because it does make the tougher times that much easier. You'll hear in just a few minutes about someone who is indeed embracing the good of their situation. And I'm looking forward to that conversation. But I want you to think about how you can embrace what is good. I can tell you personally that, for example, when I lost my sister, it was hard, but there were good parts of that situation. I was learning a lot about myself. I was learning how I dealt with adversity and grief, and that's important. Now, I'd like to give you a little epic update about Tracy Herbert. Tracy was on my podcast a few months ago, and if you remember, she rode across the country to raise awareness for diabetes. And I think that that's so important. She didn't use a map, she just rode when she felt like riding, and she met incredible people. She wrote a great book about her adventure across the US and about raising awareness for diabetes. And diabetes awareness is so important because it affects so many Americans and so many people around the world. And if you take care of your diabetes, you can avoid so many things like kidney disease. And depending on the type of diabetes you have, you can absolutely have a chance to control it. I am so honored to be joined by Sion Gale. Sion, welcome to the show. Tell us a little about who you are.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the invitation. Yes, I'm originally from Jamaica, moved to the Bay Area with my wife and two sons in '98. Been living and working here in technology since then. With my situation, I've been on dialysis since December of 2021, so it's coming up to 4 years now. But my situation would be having kidney problems due to diabetes.
I got it.
Yeah.
And so, how did you discover, first of all, that you had diabetes, and then secondly, you had kidney issues?
All right, so for the diabetes, I pretty much diagnosed myself because within a week I started to how often I was during the night. So I was getting up and going to the bathroom, and it's almost clockwork. It's almost like every 3 hours.
Sure.
And also noticing my sleep pattern, it just changed.
Okay.
You know, I couldn't sleep more than 4 hours.
Oh.
You know, contiguous. And also a drastic weight change.
Yeah.
And so like something is wrong. So I started to, note the symptom and started to say, okay, what is this? And with my assessment saying, okay, I'm diabetic. And then I made an appointment with the doctor. Like, I think I have diabetes.
Uh-huh.
And he confirmed that. But with one thing, if there's any kind of regret, is how long it took me to take things really seriously, which was a bit personally disappointed because that's not my personality. Normally, I would there's an issue, I don't shy away from it. I address it, but somehow, for whatever reason, I didn't take it as seriously as
Absolutely,
I should.
but I think, Sion, in fairness, especially when it comes to our health and stuff, there's some perhaps comfort, although it's not necessarily healthy comfort for ourselves, of, well, if I don't know, then nothing's wrong, right? If I don't ask, if I don't pay attention, oh, I'm noticing that I've got a drastic change in my weight, I'm urinating more, I can't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
All of that's kind of scary, especially if you go to Dr. Google and start to look at the symptoms, and then you're like, uh-oh, it looks like I might have diabetes. And well, if I don't ask the doctor, then I don't actually have diabetes.
Yeah, but it was personality-wise, I'm not scared of bad news, and for me, probably it's the profession where information is key.
Yeah.
So whatever information you have, it might seem adverse or so on, but the fact that you have it, there is always something that you can do. So that part wasn't the issue. Like I said, if there's any regret for me, it's the time that I took to where saying, okay, I have it. Yes, I know I have it. But then that part where I take up action and said, oh, I have this, I am going to live the best life I can with it. That took a long journey, that's not typical me, but
But it's hard because, I mean, you get diagnosed having diabetes. I'm type 2, correct?
yes.
Okay. And then you find out that you've got kidney failure.
Yeah, but long afterwards, but it's the fact that I took such a long time to really take care of it. But then you mentioned something at the very beginning, which is what I say, it's definitely my journey as well, where you saying that embrace the good.
Yeah.
And I've told my family and friends that in many ways it sounds weird, but I'm appreciative of the fact that what I have now, because my mindset has changed, how I view life, how I view my friends and family and my faith. That has changed, which I think, and for the good. And I'm a better person in terms of a more empathetic towards, people. I tend to be a little bit rushed with things and impatient. And now realizing that, hey, that person might be acting that way because they are not seen clearly.
Sure.
It's not that they might be lazy or just out of it, but
right.
They might be struggling in trying to resolve things visually, because I went through that too, So it has, and just being more appreciative of the little things, and realizing I'm better, way
right.
better than I was, prior to the diagnosis.
Absolutely. And I think for any of us, a situation that isn't obviously the one that we'd like to be in, accepting that, okay, here's where I am. I can't change it. So I've got two choices. I can either define what's going on, or it can define me. And I see you as saying, all right, I've got some kidney disease. I require some dialysis. Here's where I am. What's good about it? And I think that that's really great. Can you talk a little about, for you, what dialysis is like?
Okay, I can talk a lot. Yeah, so it started out when your GFR reading, previous has to be a certain amount.
Sure.
So it was 15%. So mine was it wasn't 15% yet, but it was close. And my nephrologist, Dr. Agarwal, told me that, hey, this is a trend. There are certain things that you need to do. Like, for example, I didn't know that, prior to dialysis, the preparation for it, like, okay, what do you want to have? You're given a choice, whether it's peritoneal or
Right.
having a fistula with hemodialysis. And of course, I chose hemodialysis, and then realizing that, okay, you need to see a vascular surgeon, have
a port put in. Right.
have the port put in, and then it's not done there. It's not then, okay, you have a port, but then you have to, it's stages that they have to be a certain maturity, because then with the knee, you're going to have 2 needles stick in your arm for each treatment, and the size of the needle also, the more mature the fistula become, then you get a bigger size, which then the efficiency of each treatment is better, because you have bigger size needle, more toxin, during the time of your dialysis. So all of that I had to learn, but then, okay, now I'm on dialysis, what can you do? And the good part is that within 4 treatments, I started to see positive effects.
Oh, that's good.
Of the treatment, in that I didn't feel as bloated. I felt more in touch, clarity, and felt that, yes, the toxins were being removed, so it's a good thing. But just to realize it now that, okay, yes, you're on dialysis, there are things that you also need to do. And one of the important thing was, okay, the diet. For me, that was a bit tricky, because I have to then address 2 major issues.
Yeah.
The fact that I have kidney disease, and then my underlying condition of being diabetic.
Definitely.
And excellent assistance from Dr. Agarwal, as well as the dietitian, who took, it was a bit tricky for her, because it's just like, okay, you're on kidney disease, you need to eat this.
Yeah.
But then to work out a matrix that, okay, yes, while you're addressing one, that it doesn't negatively impact on the other.
Exactly, I'm sure.
But yeah, and but we did. I had a very restrictive diet, and fortunately for me, or unfortunately for me, that if I slip, I tend to be very symptomatic. Knowing that, then, so I have to really follow the instructions, and it did. And the main purpose for that, though, is when being on dialysis, you have to watch your fluid intake.
Yeah.
You have to be very compliant with your medication, because watching your fluid intake to ensure that there's not too much retention,
Yeah.
which leads to high blood pressure. Then also make sure that I bought myself a machine that I could check. Initially, I started out checking my blood pressure 4 times per day.
Sure.
Just to watch it, and then watch my diet, fluid intake, and my pressure. And it became a routine. I was able to control my weight, because part of being on dialysis is that you are told what's your dry weight, and you try to adhere as much as possible to that. Why it's so important Because you don't want to have swings during the treatment.
Sure.
Because at that time I was working, and I was, it helped me to being able to work. That was also a little bit of a therapy for me, rather than staying home and dealing with that.
Just thinking about
So-
it the whole time. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get that.
So I had to do that, because if you greater deviation from your dry weight to each time that you have to take so much excess kilogram off, it leaves you very tired.
Yeah.
So the closer you are to it, you're able to, you still feel, but you're able to manage it better and also function and do other things, you know, rather than just obsess and, oh, I'm ill, and think of think of yourself as being sick, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the things you and I talked about before, I brought you on set, was an important thing is organ donation.
Yes.
And there's two types.
Yes.
And your journey with that, I'm interested to hear.
Yes. So be first to be on a donor list. It's not just automatic, because you have to be. It's a very limited resource.
Sure.
And so both your nephrologist and with the particular organization that will do the transplant, you're given certain instruction, which makes a lot of sense, that, you know, it's a very precious resource.
Oh, very much so.
You know, it's like, it's literally a second lease on life. So you have to be a certain mindset, you know, not just being appreciative of it, but to be able to adapt, to be able to be a candidate for that.
Sure.
And so being compliant to one's medication, having a good mental, a frame of mind that this is happening, it's a very serious illness, that you become less compliant, it can easily lead to very, very adverse situation, including your death. So that made me more focused, and to say, okay, I'll do what's necessary. But then you realize that it's such a limited resource that you're on a list now,
Yeah.
which was surprising for me, that my situation, that with your blood type, with my blood type and everything, my waiting for a deceased donor, two types you mentioned, a live donor and a deceased donor, was 8 to 9 years.
Wow.
And it means that between that time, you have to maintain your
You got to be
health
ready
status.
at any moment. You need to be ready for when that kidney becomes available.
Yes. And then, of course, an easier situation would be a live donor. It's easier in that there is no waiting, but then it's harder because you need someone to decide to give you that precious gift. Or second
Absolutely.
chance. Yeah. So.
And what was some of the, you and I were talking, and I'd love for you to share with my audience. There was a certain amount of, I don't know, hesitation to ask.
Yes. It took a while for me, because this guilt that I felt, it took where that, okay, you were given 2 kidneys, and you know, it's not just an accident that happened, that but lifestyle, in that you didn't maintain a healthy enough lifestyle, you know, with diabetes, and then it became CKD, you know, stage 3, 4, and now 5 to be on dialysis. So there's a feeling of guilt that, you know, I did not take care of the temple as how I should be, you know, with my faith. So their body is a temple, and realizing that I failed in doing that.
Sure.
And now the fact that I'm going to ask, so that, you know, it became a problem for me spiritually, in that it seems selfish to be asking when you were given two and now you're messed up and now to be asking again. But how I reconcile that is that sometimes you have journey we have seen in stories, you know, I'm speaking now with relation to my faith, that we have seen where people are called and they're never perfect. They're usually going through major adversity.
Sure.
But they're still called. So I realized that, okay, don't be too hard on yourself now.
Well, right. I mean, obviously, none of us are perfect.
That's-
And there are the things that are totally our fault. Some of our fault. Some of there's stuff. I was just talking to Dr. Agarwal about my hypertension. I didn't do anything to cause it. It's just one of the things I have. And
so that is that I had to reconcile with, and realizing that, okay, I will ask, because why do it need definitely improve the quality of life, but I also feel that I have more to offer, you know, based on what I've experienced. Now, there are so much now I can offer and talk about in terms of maintaining one health, without being not a health guru, but just, hey, someone who have lived it.
right.
What practical things I can do and share, and the importance. I don't think we have emphasized that enough, the importance of proactive, maintaining health in a proactive way.
Absolutely.
You know, and for the different groups, like where my reading now have shown that so much issues that within the Black community,
Sure.
that it's not that we don't care, but just the information that, hey, here are some steps. It doesn't matter whatever your circumstances are. Here are some steps that you can take that can stave off certain chronic illness, whether it's kidney disease, heart disease, liver. There are things that we can do. And it starts with the simple things. The first step, as the epic motto says, start with, you just do simple things like, okay, how, what my conditions are. Yes, I'm genetically inclined to have certain kind of disease.
Sure.
So you start to know what you're likely to have. Not that you will have it, but what's likely to.
So that you can look out for it. I mean, again, if you're genetically predisposed to, let's say, hypertension.
Yes.
Pay attention to your blood pressure. You may never get it, but if you're paying attention, you're much likely to catch it when it's much easier.
Much easier to either reverse or to control.
Sure.
Rather than it be you definitely don't want to know that your problem with hypertension is developing kidney CKD or having a stroke.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what I would like to share is the fact that having the information and then acting on the information and being proactive. And again, it doesn't have to be anything convoluted. It can just be simple by, okay, how what's the simple and easy way to eat? How do I eat?
Right.
You know,
What are the things I should be eating? What are the things that I need to absolutely avoid, or if I do, just
in moderation,
a small amount, because that's not going to help me.
Yeah, and these are the simple things that are within all of our control. Know when at an early stage, at certain time, if it gets too adverse, then you have no control over it. You know.
Yeah.
You know, so that's. I think I'm able to do this and offer it to that because as someone who has lived through it, and also too having an hopeful mindset, because you hear a very bad diagnosis, it doesn't mean that your quality of life can be reflective of what the diagnosis is.
Well, exactly. So you're a wonderful example, Sion, of you've got this diagnosis of CKD and diabetes. That's not all of who you are.
No, definitely.
It may be it may be a huge part of your life right now because you got to deal with it. You have to have dialysis. You have to watch what you eat and drink and all of that. But it's not all of who you are. It doesn't define you wholly.
That definitely true. And like I said too, it has put me on a journey where you know, embracing life a whole lot more. And like I told this before, I wish the mindset that I have now, I wish I had had it before I became chronically ill. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sion, I want to thank you so much for coming in and talking and sharing your journey. The information is so important. I want to encourage everyone to think about being an organ donor. You can save so many lives, and there are so many people who want a second chance, and you can be the person who offers that to people. I want to remind everyone that if you're ready to begin your epic journey, go to epicbegins.com. You can email me, Zander@epicbegins.com. And as always, remember, epic choices lead to the epic life that you want.